my class. I'm sure you're all here today because your company saw something in you, brought you as the next leaders of the generation of your company. And of course, tonight we're going to teach you how to look for the next generation and the talent of your own employees. So when I was 19, I had a great job. I was a helicopter mechanic. All my friends were envious. Good paying job, very prestigious. But I wasn't satisfied. So one day I went to my boss and I told him I want to quit. He told me to never apologize for wanting to change your job. If you're not fulfilled now, one day it is not only going to affect you, but the ones you love. You owe it to the ones who haven't come into your life yet to make the best of your life now. So we're going to take a chance to get to know each other. Before we get started, let's play a game. It's a celebrity interview at Oprah. So Joel, you're going to interview Heather. Heather, you're going to interview Elena. And Elena, you're going to interview Joel. So we're going to start off with these 3 questions. Maybe your name, what your organization is, and where you represent. Describe your ideal teammate and a childhood hero of yours. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to go through each other. In front of you is a paper that you can write notes. And Heather, you're going to present Joel. Elena, you're going to present Heather. And then Joel, you're going to present Elena in front of the class. It usually works better with pairs of 2.
No problem.
But all right, let's start off.
Was that the person that you interviewed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, what is your name and what do you do?
My name is Heather, and I work for Best Buy and learning and development.
Wonderful. Who is your ideal teammate?
Oh, my ideal teammate is somebody who is collaborative and who is supportive.
And do you now have somebody on your team that's like that?
Yes.
Wonderful. Do they have a name?
Their name is Tommy.
Perfect. And when you were younger, who was your hero?
Probably my mother, because she was very ahead of the times for a woman in her in that day and age. So she was the first woman to wear pants in her town as a professional.
I know.
Whoa.
I know, it's kind of crazy. And then she was a principal, she had a master's degree, so she was somebody who was very, you know, accomplished, but chose to stay home and raise me and my sister.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
What is your name and what organization do you represent?
I am Edna. I work independently.
Okay.
So for my own little company, Ellen Illustration.
Okay. So what is your ideal teammate?
I think like you was eavesdropping. But like someone who's collaborative, someone who's positive, and I think kindness goes a long way too.
And since you said you were having your own company, do you have anybody like in your realm of professional partner, people that have that?
Yeah, my friend Briette, she teaches art.
Oh, yeah.
And similar to me, she is a self-creator as well. And I like her energy and her creative process, and her empathy. Very similar.
And who was your top hero?
My dad, I think seeing someone who he worked really hard, but he always made sure to try and take care of, I think mental health is a big thing with work these days. And seeing what kind of effect, he was a teacher, and seeing the effects of stress on him and how he managed it, was actually quite inspiring, because back then, I know a lot of people didn't take time to necessarily take care of themselves, but he was good at knowing when to say, I need to take a break.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Remind me, Joel, sorry. Hi, what's your name and who do you represent?
My name is Joel,
Yes.
and I'm a wedding officiant.
No way.
Yeah, Reverend.
Oh my gosh. How long have you been doing that?
Almost 3 years.
Oh. All right. Do you have coworkers? Do you have an ideal?
I do. So we operate in 5 different provinces, but we kind of like run our own separate company and are linked together through our organization.
Oh, okay.
what's my
team?
what's me? So, definitely somebody, I love somebody who's creative, right?
Okay.
So somebody who's creative, who's able to, come up with ideas and think outside of the box when it comes to personalizing our clients' stories, their wedding, their ceremony, excuse me. Somebody who is, self-starter
Yeah.
is a big one because they have to do all the work on their own and kind of go with the concepts and what they're given. So.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's so neat. And who is your childhood hero?
My childhood hero would probably be Miss McGilvery.
This was an elementary school teacher?
Well, not really. So I remember her well because, and we still stay in touch to this day. It was one of those summer programs where, gay day camp.
Yeah.
In the summer program that, your parents put you in because they're working.
Yeah.
And she was one of the program advisors and
Oh, wow.
daycare people that would take care of us. It's probably in 6th grade, and she's just been such a memorable experience for that summer.
Yeah.
We've stayed in touch. Like right now, we're still friends. Like she's gone on to become a teacher.
Yeah.
And she, and we still, this is Winnipeg, but she's been in my life since grade 6. And she just had such a positive, outgoing personality.
Wow.
Somebody you could just talk to about anything, career advice, relationship. It was just a really cool person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. Aw. I still remember teachers from when I was younger.
Yeah.
Everyone else with the iconic one.
Yeah.
My PE teacher, that was my favorite.
That's amazing. Well, nice to meet you.
Alright, so I'll give you all a few minutes, jazz it up, and you're all going to present it in front of the class, in front of your peers.
So yeah, that's why I was a little bit confused. So I interviewed her,
Yeah.
but then you said I was presenting her.
I meant we're going to go in it and you interview the person next to you.
Right,
Yeah.
so I'm presenting that same person.
Yes, you're presenting her, yes.
Yeah, that's why I take notes for both of my, I interviewed her, but I'm presenting her, I'm gonna take other notes.
We've got an unusually small class last Yeah. Give yourself a few minutes, write it up in a neat little summary, and then a nice presentation as if you were Oprah.
I don't think I've ever watched it.
Oh, she's fantastic. She's lovely.
Think now.
No pressure, no pressure.
How long is this presentation?
It'll just be 30 seconds for you.
Oh, okay.
In your mind, think of the tone you want to exhibit to when you speak on your partner's behalf.
Fell off my chair.
Oh, don't worry about it. Things always happen. This building's a little bit old.
No. It's just a mouse.
Could be a lot of those too around.
Yeah, it's downtown.
All right, Joel and Heather, can you come up? All right, Heather, just stand right here. Please grab a chair.
Oh, thank you.
So tonight on Dateline NBC, greatest employee of all time, Heather.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Interviewed by Joel. And Joel, what did you find out about Heather?
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, first of all, and meet Heather, who is actually our sponsor for tonight's episode. Heather comes to us from Best Buy. And as our sponsor, you get a TV, and you get a TV, and you get a TV. TVs for everyone because of Heather. So, perfect. You're welcome. So the reason why actually Best Buy is here today and representing Best Buy is Heather is because today is our Mother's Day thank you special. And Heather has talked to us previously, and why we brought you out here is you have such great stories about your mother, and I'm so happy that you're going to share that with us. But as I introduce you, I just want to tell everybody in our audience today how she actually feels about her mother. This woman is amazing, right? And you can only see that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So her mother was somebody who was out there, forefront, the first woman in the town to wear pants, right? So she gave up her career by choice because she wanted to be there for her children and raise her children. It just goes to show how that is some characters that Heather has embodied in herself. And as she talks about that, we actually had the opportunity to talk more about your colleagues, Tommy.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to you sharing that story with him. But again, somebody that you found that describes the people you want to be is somebody like Tommy, who's collaborative, who's engaging, and it just shows that Heather is also this type of individual. So as we get through our interview later on today, after the commercial break, we'll have more stories from Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. All right, Heather, you stay there. Take that seat.
Yes.
Eleanor, please come on over. All right. Tonight on Fox News, one of the greatest employers of all time, we got Eleanor. She's gone through a primetime interview with Heather. Please take the stage.
Thank you. Today on our show, our guest is Eleanor Ballin of Eleanor Ballin Industries Design. Eleanor is an artist looking to work with other artists like her friend Briette, who is creative and energetic and has great empathy. And she talked a lot about emotions with us in an earlier interview today. She talked about how her father, her childhood hero, was really good at being a hard worker but balancing that mental health and how to manage stress. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Eleanor today and seeing how you can help to manage your stress and have more empathy for your coworkers. More after this commercial break.
Very good. All right, last but not least, Joel. All right, what other news organizations are there? NBC, we got ABC.
Easy, yeah.
All right, tonight on ABC, we got Joel, greatest entrepreneur of all time, interviewed by Eleanor. Let's go, and action.
I've had the great pleasure of meeting our friend Joel here, who not only is an instructor, but he's also what was it? Yeah, would you call it a pastor?
A reverend.
A reverend. I don't know my Christian names here, but a wedding officiant, and for the past 3 years too, and for a company that operates in 5 different provinces across our nation.
Yes.
Very exciting, yes. And I hear you have a great empathy towards people who are creative, and he loves working with new couples who are looking for great ideas and creating great memories.
Yes.
That would make an ideal coworker, right?
Oh yeah. They're
Yeah.
great. I love people who are creative.
Yeah. And speaking of creative, you went to a summer camp when you were young.
I did,
And you had
yes.
Miss McGivelry, who still is friends today and still inspires him in all the work that he does to this very day.
Do you miss McGivelry? I love you.
Yeah, personable. Did she teach things?
She was our camp counselor, and she just embodied, in my opinion, what a human being should be like.
Yes, and I can see it's worked out greatly for you. Joel, everyone.
Thank you.
Like a pastor.
How'd that make everybody feel?
Great.
I'm not an interviewer.
It was fun. It was fun to have like this little sort of TV show persona where we were introducing each other and talking about it like we were on TV.
Does anybody have a company like that you work for that recognizes you in front of you and your peers?
No.
Yes.
We do awards,
Mhm.
and we have to nominate teams.
Yeah.
My company is really, really good at that. They do something called Team Assist, so you can
Okay.
write on the company website, you can write appreciation to other people in your department or across departments, and it actually goes across company-wide on a weekly basis. They'll say, you know, these people were recognized by these people, and they encourage that by actually saying that the nominator will get their name put into a draw.
Oh, okay.
So they really want to encourage that culture of recognizing when people have helped you, and then we also get it from our managers on a weekly basis. We have something called a huddle,
Yeah.
where they will read out those team assists to your department and say, you know,
Wow.
so-and-so was recognized by somebody in marketing, and it's just kind of this nice little feel-good moment.
Oh, the prize is like a giant TV kind of thing?
No, it's just, so actually there is some prizes for, there's another program that's called the Associate of the Month.
Mhm.
And they take all those things and it's kind of a little different, but yeah, there are some prizes for both the nominator and the winner.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and Heather heard all about it, but I worked for a company for 2 years that, and the reason I left was because they didn't do that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I find that really important, that if you wanna maintain a level of professionalism and happiness too, and fulfillment, that's super important to recognize your coworkers and all the work that they do, and this company just failed across the board and all of that. I'm not gonna lie. And I made the step to say, you know what, I don't wanna work for a company where I'm not being valued, and I left. And that's why a lot of other people left that company too, is because there were so many valuable people there, but they were not being treated as valuable partners, and a lot of people ended up leaving. So it's very important. Sorry to pipe in there.
Brings us to our next slide. Knowing yourself and then knowing your employees. How do you value them? So, in today's class, we're going to take a look at what we value in ourselves as humans, and of course, how we can explore what motivates our employees. Your company brought you here, as I said earlier, because you're the best at what you do. They've made you the next leaders of your company. Now, how do you bring that out into your employees? Right. So what motivates the modern day employee? Are they just a bunch of minions? Have anybody seen the minions?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you like to work for a group?
No.
I don't think so. I mean,
I
they're
might.
cute.
It's a little cute, but. So yeah, let's go take a look. Let's list a few things. Just off the top of your head, what are some things that you think motivates employees?
Appreciation.
I think recognition. So if you're not told that you are appreciated, it doesn't matter how much they appreciate you on the inside. It's nice to have it actually shown.
Encouragement. Even when things are hard, if someone's like, you can do it, it can make a difference.
So that'd be encouragement and support.
Yeah.
Money.
Money does help. I think
Yeah.
it's, you know,
Let's be real, money.
it's true. It's
And yeah, I
something-
think probably fair compensation.
fair compensation, because again, you're putting value on your work and your
Yeah.
time and what your worth is.
And then also that they want to support, like, it's again kind of a support piece where it's realizing that, you know, we're in Vancouver, it's a very expensive place to live, and if they're not
Yeah.
paying you enough to have a comfortable living, they don't obviously appreciate you.
What was the question again? Just to
What do you think motivates your modern day employee?
I think for me, at least, I'm motivated by having work that I feel challenges me,
Mm-hmm.
and inspires me.
Mm-hmm.
What about your peers? Do you think those play a big role in keeping your employees where they are?
Definitely having, a group of positive people around you, so that would mean that those values are applied to them as well across the board.
I don't know, I find that
But it
the
can
way
make a
that,
big
the way
difference.
that it is now, as long as people are doing their job, because a lot of people are so into their own work, even if they're working on
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
As long as there's, like you said, there's not one person who's a bad apple that has a bad experience,
Yeah.
that would probably the baby okay, but as soon as there's one negative person in there.
Oh, I know, it's
makes-
so toxic,
yeah.
it can create a totally toxic environment.
So on our board, there are 6 things. We got a pretty good list. How about let's bet some money on it? Which one do you think is the most important? Hold-
Appreciation.
Hold that thought. So everybody's gonna get 2 cents.
Oh.
I want your 2 cents. As you see, this presentation have a lot of puns today. So we like music, we like ABBA.
Are these One Piece?
You've all seen cartoons, yes. Please come up, stand up, and put your 2 cents on which one you think.
Can we split them?
You can
put
split
on the
them,
same
you can
place?
double them up.
Okay. Double down?
Yeah.
Ooh, cute.
Alright. A little 3 for recognition, 2 for appreciation, and 1 for challenges.
Yeah.
Oh.
Who here is familiar with Maslow's hierarchy?
With what, sorry?
Maslow's hierarchy. Alright, now they're familiar with it. Can you explain it a little bit?
From what I remember, it's basically about like human needs, and the most basic level would be like food and water and shelter, but then above that, it's things that we need to fulfill ourselves as humans. So safety, Joel, help me out here.
So yeah, so 5 psychological needs, which is what you said, like food, shelter, then it goes into the next level, which is like making sure that the safety and security, stuff. And you have to be able to satisfy the first level before you can go on to the next level. And then it goes on to the next, which is like relationship, something like that, or team. And then it goes into like higher learning and like the whole becoming you yourself, self-actualization. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I only remember food and water. That's all I remember. Food and water.
Essentials.
The essentials.
You guys hit it right and done. So humans, essentially, they seek jobs to meet their physiological and safety needs. They stay at their jobs when they start hitting higher levels. So let's look at this. First one we got, which got no votes at all. Positive peers, where do that belongs?
Self-esteem?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Or no positive here, loving and belonging.
You know belonging.
And of course, fair compensation, money.
Physiological.
Probably safety, physiological area.
Yeah.
Encouragement.
Love and belonging or esteem?
I'm not sure I understand the difference between esteem and love and belonging.
Yeah, me neither.
Actually, so love and belonging is
Relationship.
yeah, relationships,
Oh, okay.
relationship with people, and esteem is more internal.
Psychological.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So positive peers can actually almost fit into safety in some ways. It's you feel more able to open yourself up when you're with people you trust. So it creates that kind of bond. Recognition.
I'm kind of in between esteem and loving and belonging.
Appreciation.
Same or more, but I think, if you have to be able to define what your appreciation is.
Yeah.
So in order for you to feel that you're being appreciated,
Mhm.
so I think that maybe it's more esteem and self-actualization almost.
So for self-actualization, it's like finding your life's goal. And when you're being appreciated for it, you kind of know you're on the right path. So esteem kind of leads into self-actualization. At least things somewhere to be on.
You
Trying to be
credit
creative.
cards and
And of course, chasing after challenges.
I think it's self-actualization.
I would say so too.
It's when you know it's challenging to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. How does that look?
Yeah.
Ow. Don't worry. Perfect. So let's put this on hold for a little bit, and we'll come back to it a bit later. Maslow's hierarchy. Famous psychologist, Abraham Maslow. Now to another famous person. Who's here with Daniel Pink? Joel's heard of it. Can you explain a little bit?
No, I recall the name, but I can't think of it.
Well, he's thought about a very interesting way to motivate employees. He did a study at MIT, and then he came up with a deduction that a complex task requires a complex reward, and the reward is getting another way. So we're going to watch a nice little video about that. Oh, wow, that does not work at all. Wait, how do I get the YouTube onto that?
Is it a hyperlink?
No, not hyperlink. That's my bad.
Copy and paste.
So you'll have to exit out of here.
Mhm.
You have to exit out of your PowerPoint, so it's not on slideshow.
Okay.
You just have it open.
Good. Technical
Oh,
difficulty.
maybe I have.
Now start ringing. Don't spoil it for anybody. Whoop.
Oh, audio cable might not be hooked
Oh, no, this is a different one I'm thinking of.
Every teacher always asks, who here's a tech guy?
It's too high, I can't receive.
Yep.
Our motivations are unbelievably interesting. I mean, I find I've been working on this for a few years, and I just find
There
it
you go.
so
All right, let's start back from the beginning. Thank you very much, Joel, the amazing tech guy. Or some popcorn, anybody?
Yes, please.
Our motivations are unbelievably interesting. I mean, I find I've been working on this for a few years, and I just find the topic still so amazingly engaging and interesting. So I want to tell you about that. The science is really surprising. The science is a little bit freaky. Okay? We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of unbelievably interesting studies. I want to give you two that call into question this idea that if you reward something, you get more of the behavior you want. If you punish something, you get less of it. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States. And let's talk about a study done at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. Okay, they gave them these challenges and they said to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. Okay? So if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. Okay? We've seen this movie before. This is essentially a typical motivation scheme within organizations, right? We reward the very top performers, we ignore the low performers, and the other folks kind of in the middle. Okay, you get a little bit. So what happens? They do the test, they have these incentives, here's what they found out. 1, as long as the task involved only mechanical skill, bonuses worked as they would be expected. The higher the pay, the better the performance. Okay, that makes sense. But here's what happens. But once the task called for even rudimentary cognitive skill, a larger reward led to poorer performance. Now this is strange, right? A larger reward led to poorer performance? How can that possibly be? Now what's interesting about this is that these folks here who did this are all economists, 2 at MIT, 1 at the University of Chicago, 1 at Carnegie Mellon, okay? The top tier of the economics profession. And they're reaching this conclusion that seems contrary to what a lot of us learned in economics, which is that the higher the reward, the better the performance. And they're saying that once you get above rudimentary cognitive skill, it's the other way around. Which seems like this kind of, the idea that these rewards don't work that way seems vaguely left-wing and socialist, doesn't it? It's kind of this kind of weird socialist conspiracy. For those of you who have this conspiracy theories, I want to point out the notoriously left-wing socialist group that financed the research, the Federal Reserve Bank. So this is the mainstream of the mainstream coming to a conclusion that's quite surprising. It seems to defy the laws of behavioral physics. So this is strange. It's strange funding. So what do? They say, this is free. Let's go test it somewhere else. Maybe that $50 or $60 prize isn't sufficiently motivating for an MIT student, right? So let's go to a place where $50 is actually more significant relatively, right? So let's take the experiment. We're going to go to Madurai, India, rural India, where $50, $60, whatever the number was, is actually a significant sum of money. So they replicated the experiment in India roughly as follows. Small rewards, the equivalent of 2 weeks' salary. Small performance, low performance, 2 weeks' salary. Medium performance, about a month's salary. High performance, about 2 months' salary. Okay, so those are real good incentives. Okay, so you're going to get a different result here. Well, what happened though was that the people offered the medium reward did no better than the people offered the small reward. But this time around, the people offered the top reward, they did worst of all. Higher incentives led to worse performance. What's interesting about this is that it actually isn't all that anomalous. This has been replicated over and over and over again by psychologists, by some extent by sociologists, and by economists, over and over and over again. For simple, straightforward tasks, those kinds of incentives, if you do this, then you get that, they're great. For tasks that are algorithmic, set of rules where you have to just follow along and get a right answer, if-then rewards, carrots and sticks, outstanding. But when the task gets more complicated, when it requires some conceptual, creative thinking, those kinds of motivators demonstrably don't work. In fact, money is a motivator at work, but in a slightly strange way. If you don't pay people enough, they won't be motivated. What's curious about, there's another paradox here, which is that the best use of money as a motivator is to pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table. Pay people enough so that they're not thinking about money and they're thinking about the work. Now, once you do that, it turns out there are 3 factors that the science shows lead to better performance. Not to mention personal satisfaction. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy is our desire to be self-directed, to direct our own lives. Now, in many ways, traditional notions of management run afoul of that. Management is great if you want compliance, but if you want engagement, which is what we want in the workforce today as people are doing more complicated, sophisticated things, self-direction is better. Let me give you some examples of this. Almost radical forms of self-direction in the workplace that lead to good results. Let's start with this company right here, Atlassian, an Australian company. It's a software company, and they do something really cool. Once a quarter, on Thursday afternoon, they say to their developers, for the next 24 hours, you can work on anything you want. You can work on it the way you want, you can work on it with whomever you want. All we ask is that you show the results to the company at the end of those 24 hours. And this fun kind of meeting, not a star chamber session, but this fun meeting with beer and cake and fun and other things like that. It turns out that that one day of pure undiluted autonomy has led to a whole array of fixes for existing software, a whole array of ideas for new products that otherwise had never emerged. One day. Now, this is not an if-then incentive. This is not the sort of thing that I would have done 3 years ago before I knew this research. I would have said, you want people to be creative and innovative? Give them a freaking innovation bonus. If you do something cool, I'll give you $2,500. They're not doing this at all. They're essentially saying, you probably want to do something interesting. Let me just get out of your way. One day of autonomy produces things that never emerged. Now, let's talk about mastery. Mastery is our urge to get better at stuff. We like to get better at stuff. This is why people play musical instruments on the weekend. You have all these people who are acting in ways that seem irrational economically. They play musical instruments on weekends. Why? It's not going to get them a mate. It's not going to make them any money. Why are they doing it? Because it's fun. Because you get better at it, and that's satisfying. Go back in time a little bit. I imagine this if I went to my first economics professor, a woman named Mary Alice Schulman, and I went to her in 1983 and said, Professor Schulman, can I talk to you after class for a moment? Yeah. I got this inkling. I got this idea for a business model. I just want to run it past you. Here's how it would work. You get a bunch of people around the world who are doing highly skilled work, but they're willing to do it for free and volunteer their time, 20, sometimes 30 hours a week. Okay, she's looking at you somewhat skeptically there. Oh, but I'm not done. And then what they create, they give it away rather than sell it. It's going to be huge. I mean, she truly would have thought it was insane. Okay, it seemed to fly in the face of so many things. But what do you have? You have Linux powering 1 out of 4 corporate servers in Fortune 500 companies, Apache powering more than the majority of web servers, Wikipedia. What's going on? Why are people doing this? Why are these people, many of whom are technically sophisticated, highly skilled people who have jobs, okay? They have jobs. They're working at jobs for pay, doing sophisticated technological work. And yet, during their limited discretionary time, they do equally, if not more, technically sophisticated work, not for their employer, but for someone else for free. That's a strange economic behavior. Economists who looked into it, why are they doing this? It's overwhelmingly clear. Challenge and mastery, along with making a contribution. That's it. What you see more and more is a rise of what you might call the purpose motive. Is that more and more organizations want to have some kind of transcendent purpose. Partly because it makes coming to work better, partly because that's the way to get better talent. And what we're seeing now is, in some ways, when the profit motive becomes unmoored from the purpose motive, bad things happen. Bad things ethically sometimes, but also bad things just like not good stuff, like crappy products, like lame services, like uninspiring places to work. That when the profit motive is paramount, or when it becomes completely unhitched from the purpose motive, it just, people don't do a great thing. More and more organizations are realizing this and sort of disturbing the categories between what's profit and what's purpose. And I think that actually heralds something interesting. And I think that the organizations that are flourishing, whether they're profit, for profit, or somewhere in between, are animated by this purpose model. Let me give you a couple of examples. Here's the founder of Skype. He says, our goal is to be disruptive, but in the cause of making the world a better place. Pretty good purpose. Here's Steve Jobs. I want to put a ding in the universe. All right? That's the kind of thing that might get you up in the morning racing to go to work. So I think that, that we are purpose maximizers, not only profit maximizers. I think the science shows that we care about mastery very, very deeply. And the science shows that we want to be self-directed. And I think that the big takeaway here is that if we start treating people like people and not assuming that they're simply horses, slower, smaller, better smelling horses, if we get past this kind of ideology of carrots and sticks and look at the science, I think we can actually build organizations and work lives that make us better off. But I also think they have a promise to make our world just a little bit better.
Who's ever seen that before?
I think I have, actually. I feel like I have, but I'm not sure. He's done other ones, though, too, so it might have been another one.
It's actually been interviewed a lot too, actually. That's why I bring up that Oprah scenario at the beginning. What does it feel like to have recognition for your life's work? Who here
That's nice.
does have employees that do very mundane tasks, like put a box on a belt or sweep the floors?
I live in hotel roles, we have tons.
Oh yeah, of course.
And back in retail when I was working at the stores, we had lots of them.
When I worked in print, there were people that just work on like the cutters and would just cut or shop down. Or
Do people have more ambitions than to stay at that job then? People want to be more than you. Well, there's the union to pay. And
I was gonna say, I think it's the motivation, right? If it's like, and why they follow their own value system.
yeah, some might take more pride into their family and their home lives.
Yeah.
Maybe it gives them their flexibility. For those who do want to work in the world, like now these kind of jobs seem to be less and less as become more in the digital world, right? So one thing I kind of learned from that is that you hire the employees because they have the skills, and our leaders as jobs. Our leaders, our jobs don't tell them what to do, but to recognize what they do. Which also coincides with what Steve Jobs once said. It doesn't make sense to hire people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. And then your own employees, you definitely have smart people with passions, whether they show at work or not. They have things beyond their job from 9 to 5. But what if they have great skills that can offer the company? What they do for volunteer, education, hobbies, perhaps could lead to a solution that you guys never thought of in your own company. Cool. Who's ever heard of author Nick Nielsen? He thought something in reverse, which is kind of interesting. He reversed the hierarchy, and he decided, what if we were lead employees, right, appealing to their sense of self-actualization? So money is always going to be on the table. People are always going to think about it. what satisfies their psychophysiological needs and their safety needs, right? They need to feed their family, feed their house. And often these are things we can't change. There are always going to be other companies that offer people more money. So let's focus on things that we can change. What do they want to do at work? How to make them feel better? And how do we make them feel belonging in our company? Obviously, if you keep using money as an incentive, they're going to see that as their only incentive. So we're reminded of, I have to be here because I got to feed my family, and at my old job, we call that the golden handcuffs. And that's pretty much what destroyed me from my old company and caused me to leave. So Business Insider once said, employees leave their jobs if they don't pick up a new skill, viewpoint, or way of doing things in as early as 6 months. Second to pay, lack of job satisfaction is a reason that people leave their jobs. Finally, if pay is your only motivator, people will leave your job regardless. Brings us to our fundamental question of choice. Why did they choose your company? What can you offer them that most companies can't? So let's bring it back to bet your money on it, round 2. I'm gonna give you all back your 2 cents.
We've been here longer. We want more money.
It's funny you say that because let's boot up to 3 cents. Have a little fun with it.
We're very fast vision to see.
It's not that much. Mostly not.
One, 2, 3, oh, that's too much.
She got extra. Why did she get a raise?
Everyone gets their raise for giving up new ideas and contributing to the company. So, let's select me.
Or slash cartoon. It was human I used to teach there, so like all my kids had like One Piece something.
All right, let's stand back up. Place your money on it.
So what are we, so what's the, what, can you tell us what we're doing?
Oh, okay. Coming back up, you got your 2 cents back. You're going to place your coin back on these to see if your mind has changed or not.
So what motivates? That's the question.
What motivates your modern day employee? Anybody add more to challenges as part of their, or is it just some extra coins?
Extra.
I think it's just the extra point.
I added 1 extra.
You doubled down on it.
I did 2 on challenges last time, I did 1.
Oh, nice. How's that make everybody feel?
I think it makes sense, like, when they brought up the fact that, especially after the video, where if you don't learn something, or if you're not sort of encouraged to learn a new skill within, 6 months,
Yeah.
you get bored.
Mhm.
And I think, like the video said, we all like a little bit of challenge. We like to do things that challenge our creative minds. We want to be able to express ourselves. So having a challenge is important. And it doesn't mean like a scary challenge. It just means it's opportunity for growth and learning.
How long were you stuck in your position before that job?
Just over 2 years. And they kept, it was, again, it all ties together so well because they kept saying, because I do design, I'm more of an artist, and they said that they were looking into getting into a design position there, and it never happened, and they kept sort of dangling the carrot, and it was a very, the job is always sort of different because there's always different clients coming in, so the jobs themselves are quite different, but the work is always the same, and there just wasn't that support, and I wasn't getting the things that they were promising me, and so I said, enough, bye. So it goes to show it's not all about money. That would have helped too, but it was all about not having the support, not feeling like there was anywhere to grow and learn, and so I just said, bye.
What about for you two?
There was an article recently that talks about some of these steps in a different now, when we use the term appreciation or recognition, and if people aren't getting that value in their organizations, which ties into like the work that they do, being thankful of it. There's so many people right now who are working for themselves because it's more challenging work, or you know, it's they're able to have the fairness that they feel money versus time, because for some people it's the value of being able to have that flex schedule and work when they want, from where they want, right? So, you know, just take a look at some of these organizations that have popped up, like Space Work and WeWork and things like that, where they have open offices,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So people can come and go where they please. They have smaller businesses, and so they're feeling that for them the challenge is it's about making work fulfilling to them,
Yeah.
and finding their own way, right, to make their own money for what they need.
Yeah.
Very interesting. My cousin actually works for Cisco in San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
Which is the telecommunication company. And is it telecommunication or some sort of a...
Cisco's a food distribution.
Yeah, no,
CSCY, not SY.
Oh.
yeah.
There's two Cisco.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she does a program for them. She's a computer engineer. And then one of the things she appreciates out of her job is that she gets to work from home at least once a week.
Nice.
So it creates that flexibility.
Yeah.
And it allows her to spend time with her family and the things that she wants the most. Right?
Yeah.
So, has this video changed any of your perceptions on how you treat your employees, or a lot of things you guys, are great leaders, you probably know already?
I think it's one thing to realize what motivates you, kind of like having a challenge is really important to me, as well as appreciation. It's another thing to be able to provide that for your employee, because I know as of late, when I've been in leadership positions, I know I like those things, but then I sometimes forget to give those things to other people, even though I know that people want it and I want it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So before I set you guys off today, we all had a little fun. So you've gained new perspective, and if not, we had a lot of fun. Tell a little thing that reminded you of things you can take back when you get to work. But also, before I let you go, I want you all to look under your seats. Is a little gift for you?
Yeah.
You get a keychain. You get a keychain. And you get a keychain. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Something like Amanda? Think of your employees as more than minions. Have a good time.
Thanks.